Now, in today's passage, there is a reference to blindness as a disability, which is used then as a metaphor for spiritual awareness and awakening. But this is not meant to denigrate anyone who has this disability as having an unawakened spirituality or lack of awareness. In contrast, this man is actually made the one who is lifted up, while those who are self-righteous are chopped down low. So please forgive the text if it appears insensitive to the disability of blindness, and stick with me to see actually where this lands, because it's pretty cool where it does land. Now we need to talk about something. Dog poop. I know, that's kind of gross, but there's a quotation attributed to Martin Luther, the great reformer of the early 1500s, who pounded the 95 Theses on the door. And he said that human beings forgiven by God are like, quote, snow-covered dunghills. That's a really pretty picture, isn't it? I'm sure you get that picture in your head of a giant pile left by your dog covered in snow. Now, the meaning of this says that humans are no better than those piles in your yard left by your dog until the grace of God covers us and makes us white as snow. But if you think about it, under the snow is still the steamer pile. It's really gross. All of the value is attributed to the covering, and there is no value to anything underneath that covering. And even after the grace of God has covered us, it doesn't actually affect our core identity as worthless piles of don't say it. Got you there. While there are probably people in your life that you might believe this to be true of, it is actually psychologically harmful theology still embraced by some today. So it also breeds shame and feelings of insufficiency, which leads to dependency on authoritarian leaders, who can then use it to justify neglect, abuse, and contempt. Now, this attitude is seen in a question posed by Christ's disciples upon meeting this man who was born blind. And what'd they say? Who screwed up? This guy or his parents? Who's the one that messed everything up? That's what I want to know. Now, Jesus' response, I can see this happening with a total eye roll. Neither, guys. Right? We tend to place blame for someone's condition upon a lack of personal character instead of the context that person lives within. For example, many think that poverty must be the result of laziness. If they just go get a job, they'd be better off, right? Or obesity. It must be the result of somebody's poor habits. If they just exercise more and eat better, they'd lose weight and be healthy. Or depression must be the result of someone just refusing to be happy and wallowing in self-pity. If they'd just be more positive, things would get better for them. This is actually a practice called shaming. We separate a person from an environment and place full responsibility for their condition on their lack of character. And it ends up being just a cheap way to distance oneself from the broader problems in our world that breed injustices all around us. And that is the context of today's passage. People who had sickness or disability back in these days were seen as cursed by God. And then those with abundance of health and possessions were seen as blessed by God. And that attitude lives on today, right? We see someone who has $200 billion and we assume that they worked hard for their money. But that means someone worth $200 billion who has worked since they were 18 and are now 50. If you take the average work week of 40 hours a week and divide it all up, that means on average they earned per hour $1,456,876 per hour. That's $24,281 a second. And no one's work is worth that. And no one also, on the opposite end, needs to work 3 jobs just to try and make a decent living. Jesus does not heap shame and blame upon this man for his condition. He is not a dunghill about to be covered in snow. Jesus is about to meet this man in compassion. He heals this man, not to elevate his status, but illustrate it. He's about to reveal that all human beings have value regardless of their beliefs, status, ethnicity, wealth, or health. This man will show how we share in the divinity of Christ by grace, and that we are diamonds not dunghills.